We help service-based businesses turn their daily work, in the case of an auto shop, turn your repair orders into content that generates more leads.
Beyond the Wrench with jgoninen.
Welcome back to Beyond the Wrench. My name is jgoninen, and I am your host. On today's show, we welcome back Joe Toscano. Joe has a lot of things going on that we're going to talk through today. We were lucky enough to have him on the show. Joe, I can't recall how long ago. Was it probably a year ago or so? It's been a minute since we've had you on.
Yeah, it would have been at least a year, I think. It might have been closer to a year and a half even. It's been a while, but a lot of things have changed since then. The world's changed. What we've been doing has changed. So definitely time for an update.
Well, time for an update. You continue to evolve with everything that you're doing, and it is at times when I'm talking to you, I'm always learning something. I actually just learned that I should be drinking warm water or hot water as a way to to help my body out. So always learn something from you, and it's a pleasure to have you back on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And we can both thank my wife for that tip. That's everybody try it out. Morning hot water with lemon. Feel your body different. It's going to be great.
All right, we're going to give that a shot now. Talk to us a little bit about what's changed. I mean, you are always evolving. You are always learning, and I think as we talked about on the last show, your involvement with the family shop, it might have shifted a little bit here, but just in general, you've had a lot of stuff going on. So why don't you bring us up to speed on everything going on in Joe's life?
Sure, yeah. Well, for everyone who didn't catch the last episode, I'm a tech guy who got pulled in the automotive world because my family's been running an auto shop for 25 years now. I used to work out at Google, did software design development. I left, wrote a book, did a whole like speaking tour on how to make tech safe. And at that time, my parents decided I was finally qualified enough to help them do their marketing. And so that's how I got into the auto world. I helped them to digitally transform their business. That's SOPs, that's marketing, that's finance. Everything became digitized and streamlined. We grew from $3 to $11 million a year in revenue. And then about a year and a half ago, shortly after you and I were on that first podcast, I had started on a software product that we're now running called Service Stories because I was trying to help them get into AI search, AI answers. And that has taken off. So yeah, you're right. I'm now no longer with the family business. I'm doing this software full time now, working with other shops on top of, HVAC, plumbing, trucking, logistics. We even have like chiropractors. It's really cool. It's, basically the whole point is we help service-based businesses turn their daily work, in the case of an auto shop, turn your repair orders into content that generates more leads. So you do your work. The AI sits in the middle and reads and checks into what's going on, and it creates content without you having to think from a blank page.
I I had the pleasure of walking through the platform with you, and what you've built is really, really cool. And I think it does address a pain point that a lot of shops see, in that I think all shops know the power of content, or they
Mhm.
know at least of the power of content, and really what kind of impact that can have on your business.
Yep.
But a lot of shops are like me, where I'm probably not the most creative person in the world, or
Sure.
maybe not going to give the time needed to really produce kind of that organic content on
Yeah.
on the socials that I think is what really moves the needle. It's what kind of helps educate customers. It's what helps
Mhm.
just drive more awareness to your brand as a whole. The tool that you've created makes that really, really simple, right? You don't have to think of it. You're already doing the stuff.
That's my goal. That was one of the biggest priorities I was taking care of in the shop. And in all honesty, I was trying to automate myself out of a job. I was so sick and tired of doing
Yeah,
social media. Oh my God, I hated it, but I knew we had to do it, right? Blogs, like I've written for years. I have an English minor. I write for Forbes currently, about AI, and I'm good at it. But like to start from scratch every week, I was just banging my head, right? And then we've had agencies in the past, and when you plug in an agency, they turn around almost every week and they're like, hey, what are you doing this week? Hey, upload this. Hey, send me that. It's like, I'm almost doing the work myself, but I'm paying $1,000 or $3,000 a month to like tell you what to do. And I thought, the insight I had, I was sitting at the shop and trying to figure out how we get in AI search. And then I was just watching the guys work, right? And every day a customer comes in the door, my service writer goes out, greets them. He goes and takes photos of the car. He asks them what's going on. We get all their concerns written down. And then, of course, as always, you make an estimate. It's got the parts. It's got the what do you do, all that stuff. I was like, oh my God, why do I need to try to think of what we're doing? The story's right there. That's what we do every day. How can I just tell that story? Not only is it valuable because I have the customer's real concern, which we can flip into a question that mirrors what they're asking ChatGPT now, but also it's authentic and it's unique to me. And the photos are right there. I just got to move them over. It's like, oh, that's what I should have been doing the whole time, And so that's what we built into a product. And the question we always get asked is like, couldn't I do this with ChatGPT? Like, why do I need a service to do it? Another software, right? Another thing. And the answer is you don't have to work with us to do it. And I actually wrote a blog about how to do it without us. I think the problem most people run into when they do that is that they then have to maintain this thing, right? They go build it up. They maybe make some skills and they speed up and then they realize like, now I'm using this thing I made and it doesn't get consistent outputs because that's what AI does, right? It's called drift. You can make a skill. It's good for the first pass and then it breaks down over time. You have to redo things. And beyond that, it's not all integrated. It's not seamless. So then you're spending more labor hours and ultimately what you'll find in the article, I'm happy to share that because I hope, if you want to do this, you don't want to, work with us. Of course I'm promoting here, but like, go ahead and I'll give you the instructions. It's just usually what you're going to find is it's going to cost you 2 to 5x the amount of time, which your time is worth a lot of money.
No. I think we undervalue that at times, right?
Yeah.
Especially from the shop's perspective of the value of a leader's time within a shop. And even if you're a bigger shop and having a marketing team that is doing some of this stuff, like
Yeah.
you probably, I see so much value there because so many of us are pulled in a million different directions. And
Sure.
could you do some of it? Sure. I
Mhm.
would still, argue that most people aren't proficient with it, right? They know enough to go on to chat gpt and ask some things, or
Mhm. Mhm.
have started to play around with Claude. But I think they're, for the most part, this is your world, this is your expertise, this is what you've lived in for many many years.
Mhm.
And to build something specific to our industry, I think is great. And the one thing I'll say, as you took me through the platform, it's really interesting to kind of get your almost brain dump as you're talking through how you built it and why you built certain parts of it.
Yep.
And kind of your thinking is just different, I think, than a lot of folks, in that this is your life, and this is how you're building it, is to be a
Yeah.
benefit to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is the epitome of my career in almost every sense of the word, right? Like when I was consulting for Google, I was doing both marketing and product work. And on the marketing side, a couple of the products, the Google products I worked on was Google AdWords, doing their marketing website, which my boss came to me. And imagine this, I'm 26 years old. I'm in a senior consulting role overseeing AdWords marketing. Okay. At that time, AdWords was a $40 billion a year business, right? So my boss comes to me and he goes, "We're redoing the homepage." And he goes, that you see that blue sign up button up there? He goes, "If you mess that up by 0.05%, that's 1/20th of 1%." He goes, "If you mess it up by 0.05%, that's $20 million a month.
Oh,
So no pressure." Right.
don't screw it up.
So I learned how to, I learned how to convert. I learned how to close a deal through the internet because we're selling to 2 billion people in 200 different languages in areas where internet doesn't work really well, across all the way to the full spectrum of the Americas where we have light speed internet, right? So I learned all that kind of stuff. And then the other big platform I also helped with was At the time, Google My Business, we now call Google Business Profiles, right? And that was really wild at the time. That was when Google was trying to make Google Business Profiles into your website. They were effectively trying to kill off the website in general, which arguably they're still trying to do today. It hasn't gone away 10 years later. But it is always changing. It's always evolving. And so, yeah, that was like when I got to my family's business, literally the first thing I did, I just looked, they weren't on Google at all. I put them on Google Maps and they got $300,000 in additional revenue in 1 quarter. It's like,
It's crazy.
that it is crazy. Like that's what Google can do though. That's what internet search can do. And if you know how to leverage it, that's what you can do with a business. And yeah, I just productized my lifetime worth of experience into one thing. And for me, that's the value. I couldn't be having a better time. I'm not having to, how do I say this? It's not that I'm not having to think, but it's just like, this is me. It's like, this
Yeah.
is what I've been doing for years. It's great.
I I think it's interesting because I said this a lot in early days Wrenchway as we were building that out. Part of that was to produce content for almost your in a sense it was a business page, but
Hmm.
for recruiting technicians, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I had constantly stressed to our clients was that you have content rolling in the doors every single day. Their
Hmm.
struggle was coming up with the content to put out there,
Right. Right.
and really kind of that shift in mindset of, you you think at times, I think when you're in it every day, you're like it's kind of a boring business. Like there's nothing exciting. Just like any job, like you do
Yeah.
it over and over and over again. You
Right.
like don't see the appeal, but I see so much value in kind of sharing the stories that roll into our shop every
Yeah.
single day and some of the complexities that go into them. And I think I've talked a lot about this, but the need to educate the general population at a shop level is huge because I don't
Mhm.
think a lot of people truly understand how complex and how hard these vehicles are to work on,
For
and
sure.
that's without even the technology side, right? Just
Yeah.
like being able to get your hands in a certain place and how difficult that is,
Mhm.
and to get that stubborn connector apart. There's so many things that go into it that are really, really challenging. Being able to have that story go out is, I truly think, what's going to allow us to elevate our labor rates and to really kind of, we see this in the voice of technician survey all the time, that
Yeah.
a lot of technicians don't feel like they're respected from the outside population. And I'm like, well, that's because
Mm.
they don't know,
They don't
right?
know how
they
hard it
don't they
is.
don't know what we're doing. So
Yeah.
how do we do that? We can tell stories in a way that is very public and very visible,
Right.
so that we can help be part of that solution.
Right. Right. Well, in a few points here. So, from a Google perspective, there's nothing more expert or authoritative or trustworthy. That's their framework, right? There's nothing more than you telling the real work of what you did. But also then sit back and ask yourself, before a system like Service Stories, maybe it's not even us, or maybe there's others in the future, but like before a system like this, how much time would it have taken to pull a ticket, find the one you want to write about, first of all, pull the ticket, figure out how to write about it? Because you're an expert, you're going to write some technical docs and a customer can't read it, right? Now, the way we do this, we take the customer's concern, we flip it into a question, and imagine the way that search is changing. We used to go auto repair near me, and people still do that. I'm not saying it's gone, but it is evolving and it's moving very fast. Now people are picking up the phone and they're talking to their phone like they're voice texting a friend. We all do that. My dad did
Yeah.
that to me, right? And they're saying things like, why is my AC blowing hot air when I have it set to 62? Or what's wrong with my car? It feels like it's shaking. I can see that this light's on my dashboard. Can you tell me what it might be? That's how they're talking to the internet. So your old school keywords, now basically what's happening is these AI systems are taking that paragraph that they put in and trying to break out what might be the real like question in there. And they might run 10 or 20 or 30 different searches. It's called a query fan out, right? Because we're querying, we're asking the internet. They'll fan out 10, 20, 30 different potential questions. They'll go Google search it, or Bing, or they have all different kind of systems, and then they synthesize from there and they source it up. What research is showing, though, what millions and millions of attempts to try to, reverse engineer ChatGPT are showing from some of the biggest SEO companies in the world, the reports are showing the companies who semantically match the query the best are the ones who are getting surface number one. Now, that's a technical frame. What that means is the companies who are answering the questions that are nearest to the way the person's asking it are the ones who are getting results, who are getting to the top of those new mentions. And so when you have a piece of content that says, brake repair in Austin, Texas, that's pretty good for traditional keyword search. But now, what if that was brake repair for a Honda Civic in Austin, Texas? Or what if that was a question that was not just a statement, right? Not just a forward brake repair in Austin, Texas. What if it said, why are my brakes squeaking on my Honda Civic? And where can I go in Austin, Texas? What if you could write a piece of content like that and do it for every single vehicle coming through your shop? That's what Service Stories does, right? We help you take those tickets. You don't have to think about it. You look through our list of sample stories, because every ticket comes in and we generate a sample story. You read the title and you ask yourself, do people ask me that every day? And if so, boom, click, generate story, publish it. That's how we work. That's how simple we've made it.
I As you're talking, I kind of look to my own experience of using ChatGPT versus Google, right? And
Mhm.
it is a lot more, feels like a lot more specific questions that I'm asking. And you had talked about how you talk to your ChatGPT or whatever you're doing, and
Yeah.
I it is really interesting because it does feel like it is more pointed. My question would then be, for the individual shop, how does that play from a localized level, right? So
Yeah.
if I might not, I'm in Wisconsin, it might not be in my best interest to come up in a search in Denver, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how
Of
does
course.
that work on a localized level?
Yeah, good question. And that's a little bit of secret sauce that we're putting in there, but we're working that out as well in the same timeline because, yeah, we did start off with just like broad answers, right? And we saw a lot of traffic come in, but then we noticed, especially like when we're Audi, Volkswagen, all, we're getting a lot of traffic from Germany, right, or Europe or something, right? We did notice that in the beginning. We're figuring that out as we go. Is the answer. We are getting better about it, and it comes into weaving in the locations, not in the headline H1, but actually within some of the H2s, right? And we're organically doing that with our AI systems, but there's also different ways where you can do that through schemas and enhance it. The answer also to that is I don't think there's anybody who's going to have it purely figured out, because these AI systems are not like traditional search in the sense of like traditional search, you could hit a result like I'm number three, I'm number one, and pretty well hold it. AI search, it's not stable. Like it's still at a point where it's a probability, and your goal is now to be in 25 or 30% of the answers. I actually worked with not worked in the company, but like we are partnered with and working with a AI answer analytics company, and they're saying to everybody, like, if you can get into 50%, if because what they do is they run prompts you want to own, like I want to be in this answer. They do this daily for companies, hundreds of them at a time, and they're saying to everybody, if you can get into that answer 50% of the time, you've monopolized it. They're like, that's so rare. Like usually you're like 10 to 15, maybe 20%, right? We've seen some of our customers get as high to 20 to 30% of answers, but it is like nobody's figured out how to localize it purely yet. And so that is a global challenge. And I think part of that will also come in when there is more content like this, right? Part of the reason our customers are getting some of that global traffic, they're still driving leads locally. I can show you that too. We can talk about that. But in the analytics, it'll show where they come from, right? And they're converting, and it's becoming some of their most prominent landing pages, actually some of the most engaged. People are literally reading it because it's a real story. It's not a marketing page about why I do brake repair in Austin. And what we're looking for is, I think as this scales out, as more companies are doing it, you have a similar story in Denver, a similar story in LA, a similar story in Knoxville, Tennessee, whatever, then the internet will actually have the opportunity to localize it. Right now, some of our
Not there
customers,
yet.
some of our customers are just the first to ever do it. You know.
That's crazy. That part is fascinating to me because I think when you when you're typing a question into chat gpt, and
Mhm.
we've learned this a little bit on the wrenchway side as well, where as we've kind of as we record this, just announced that we at wrenchway have been acquired by ASE, and so ASE kind of has that automatic presence because it is that kind of that third party certification.
Yep.
They've been around since the 70s.
Yeah.
With the wrenchway side, it was crazy how much it picked up on. I didn't even know or really think about where wrenchway would show up in ChatGPT on some of the search functionality, but
Hmm.
because of the content we had produced for several years now, on the site or even LinkedIn or wherever,
Yep.
it really kind of established us as a subject matter expert, if you will, that
Yep.
it felt like we were being referenced in a lot of stuff.
Yep.
It kind of stinks because as we're going through this, we're kind of rebranding under ASE's name,
Yeah.
where you lose some of that, like what you'd established already with the
Mhm.
content piece. But just wild, like we'd show up in places that I didn't think we ever would,
Yeah.
and it was because of content, and it was because of the things that we had done in years past,
Yep.
and I think this is one of those topics where it's not going away. Like this is
Hmm.
just in
Yeah.
the infancy stage, right? Like this
For
is just
sure.
going to keep growing on itself, and the
For sure.
faster you can get out in front of it and start producing content, the more, in my opinion, the more likely you are to be successful at this.
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe it is it's like we're staking ground in new territory that was not accessible before, right? Like, um, you conquered search, you conquered traditional SEO. Right now, there's a whole new layer to it where, like, in the early days, you're going to see reports. There's a lot of like old school SEO people who are just like, oh, nothing's changed. Google just reads the search results and they just, ChatGPT just sources the number one result. That's not true. Research is finding that. They do go crawl the search results, absolutely, but then they have their own steps in between too. And this is only going to evolve. They're going to get more intelligent. They're going to have their own ways of determining what, in the beginning, they started that way, right? Like very rough and raw, but now it's getting bigger. Just in the last several months, we've seen it go from, ChatGPT, Claude, Google doing 2 or 3 query fan outs to now 10 to 30, right? So one thing I'm kind of saying as a parallel to all shop owners who know about this, um, the map pack. For years, I'm sure you've been talking about the map pack. You got to be in the map pack. You pull up the map pack. You see all the dots, the colors, right? Oh, I'm red in this area. I'm green in that one, right? Like, I believe being more well represented across the query fan out is the new map pack. Okay. If you got 30 query fan outs and you're number one in all of them, do you think you're going to be the number one result or the person behind you is? Versus,
Right.
let's say another situation, which is more likely to be reality. There's 10 different results. You're number one in this one, you're number two in 3 of them, you're number 8 in 2 of them, and it adds up and then it's going to have its own inferences. Like, that's why effectively what we're doing with service stories, we're trying to help you turn your website into your own Wikipedia, your own encyclopedia of not only the work you do, but like the different versions of it, right? AI search, let's go back. Search would pick you because you had a blog about brake repair or a service page or a specialty page about Audi, right? That was good enough. But now with AI, they're going to look for that. And then what if you also had a blog? So your Audi page is here and down, attached below is these, 50 different ways you've worked on Audis, in these 5 different ways you've approached a brake job on Audi Q5, right? Like, who is going to be the expert that the internet recommends in a couple years from now? The shop that just has a single page about the fact that they do Audi repair, period, or the shop that has that and then has examples of how they've done it in the past and how it's been successful and how they help customers with authenticity, not just a marketing page. That's up to you
Oh,
to decide, but I think I know where I'm going.
yeah, 100%. And I think uh, I had uh, Dave from Dave's Automotive at one point on, and some other content creators on the podcast over the years. And a common theme that I've heard is that you can show people how the sausage is made, fully knowing they're not going to make the sausage, right? And
Mhm.
I think when you look at this,
Yeah.
there are times where shops are like, well, I don't want to give that information away. I don't want to tell people how we
Sure.
do things. And you're like, you, no, they're not going to do it. Or if they do it, they're going to do it poorly and they're going to
Yeah.
have a bad experience on their own. Right. So,
Yeah.
as much as they can use YouTube and maybe they see some instruction or something that you've
Yeah.
done. I do think the more you can show them how the sausage is made,
Mhm.
the more of that authenticity you have, and the more of the more it doesn't come across as a sales pitch, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of shops
Right.
almost
Right.
miss
Yeah.
is they're trying to go for the immediate sales pitch every single
Yeah.
time, and it's just noise then, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want to learn,
Yep, and then you just look like every other shop, you know? But, like,
right?
to that extent, I've had people ask me that, and let's be real here. We're all professionals. We all know how hard it is to do the work. If you explained how to do this work and someone read about it, first of all, nowadays, especially newer cars that are coming out, customers almost have to come to you with some of the tools that they need to fix these cars.
Absolutely.
Right? There's situations where they, literally cannot try to do it at home unless they wanted to spend 10, 20, $50,000 on a tool or a machine or something, right? Let's be real. Okay, and that's probably only gonna get worse as technology evolves. Secondarily, let's say they have a 2000 Honda Civic or 2001 Honda Civic, whatever, right? Like, sure, it's like Lego parts. Maybe they can work on it at home, but like also they could find that on YouTube. So what are you protecting yourself from? Why don't you get the web traffic? Why don't you get a lead? Maybe they tried to do it, they messed it up because they watched somebody on YouTube or they trusted somebody on Reddit, and now you have the real content, and they're going to come to you because they messed it up, and now they got to pay you more because they fucked it up, right? Like, let's be real. And then the last part here I just want to say is, like, also the way we help people write, we don't write it so extensively that like you're gonna put out the exact details of every step you took and put liability out on the internet, right? Like, that's not it. We want an abstract. We want like a summary of the work you did in a general brief. Here's generally what we saw as professionals. Here's what you might see as a non-technical person. Here's the risks that are involved if you don't take action on it. Here's some reviews of customers who came into it to us for similar jobs, and if that's enough to convince you, here's a CTA. Now book your time because you need help, right? Like, pretty much that's how we do it. It's not,
Yeah.
we're not giving away the secret sauce. I don't think that's intelligent. I'm not going to have you put every line item of the parts and the tools you use. We're not going to put you guys into great risk and liability. That's not our job. But it's to help you get real, authentic stories out there. And effectively, every job you do could be a micro case study of proof that you do.
This week's episode of Beyond the Wrench is brought to us by Jasper Engines and Transmissions. Okay, your customer's engine or transmission has failed, but now is not the time for them to trade their vehicle. Not without a working engine or transmission. Besides, would they have kept their vehicle another 3 to 5 years if their engine or transmission had not let them down? If you answered yes, then Jasper Engines and Transmissions is your choice to give your customer's vehicle new life and many thousands of miles of enjoyable driving performance. When considering the high cost of a new or newer used vehicle, there's a pretty good case to be made for replacing a drivetrain component that has failed or is delivering poor performance. Rather than trading their car, truck, van, or SUV, install a quality remanufactured Jasper product for less than your customer would have to invest in a new vehicle or a newer used vehicle. Check out their website at jasperengines.com to learn more about the money-saving value of Jasper. How does that review side play into things?
Mhm.
Does when you look at the different AI tools,
Mhm.
are they considering, hey, this shop has a 3-star Google
Mhm.
ranking versus like a 4.8 Google ranking? Are they taking that type of stuff into consideration,
Yeah.
or is that maybe an
Yeah.
indicator of some level of expertise?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to get confused and think that we we only make blogs either, right? We help.
Right.
When you click generate stories, we generate a story for every platform you're on. So if you're on Google Business Profile, which I hope to God you are, you should be at this day and age, if you're on Google Business Profile, you got a Facebook, you got an Instagram, you click generate stories, we're going to get you a blog, a Google Business post, a Facebook post, and an Instagram post all in one,
It's
right? We
wild.
do cross platform. You log into your platform, we help you publish to it, right? So it's also that pain in the tail that people are not having to deal with when they work with us, right? It's like, and especially a multi-shop operation. Oh my God. I mean, we had 3 locations. I can't imagine some guys got 5 or 10 or more, and you're trying to run content across all of them and make it unique. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys who take the same piece of content and run it across every different profile page they have, which is like, it's already a lot of work to make that content. I'm not saying that's bad, but it's like, imagine if you could then make it unique to each location, because it's more or less thoughtless, right? It's like I'm pulling in something that I know and it's helping me create it. And there's still some editing work. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say you should put it on autopilot. I'm actually not a believer of that. I think that you should spend 5 or 10 or 20 minutes reviewing it and kind of tweaking it to you. But compare that to what might have taken 2 or 3 or 5 hours for one post before, right? Across all the channels, like with this high quality, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think you got to keep them all alive. Google Business is as important as ever before. That's, get your review numbers up, get your ratings up. And more than that, one other thing we're talking to people about is like, get the quality of the reviews up. And that's the hardest one. Okay, that's the hard. You have very little control over that. But we've been in a race in this industry. And let's call it the last 5 to 10 years, which is go get reviews, right? Everybody finally caught on, and now we're just trying to get a higher number. So my neighbor's got 900, I want 1200, whatever it is. And then it's your rating number, right? But at some point, and this is already happening, but AI is reading those reviews too. So at some point, I believe what's going to happen is it's going to be, now you both have 1200, or you have 1100 and they have 1200, and you're at a 4.8 and they're at a 4.6. Like, what's the real difference? Well, then we're going to read through the reviews. And this shop, they got 1200 at a 4.8, and all they say is good people, great work. Good people, great work. Good people, great work. Right? Like, but you got 1100, or you even got 800, and you're at a 4.6, but you got real reviews. Says, I brought my Honda Civic into Todd, and they got my brake job turned around in a few hours. They were great people, and they gave me, this and that, which I didn't even expect. Right? Like, that's the kind of stuff. If you can get people to get you quality reviews, not just
Hmm.
volume, I think that's the next layer we're going to be chasing.
That's good advice and is so true. I think when you have the I've checked out businesses in the past where you go read through their reviews and you're like, this feels like they're paying somebody to put these reviews out there, or they're doing, like
Yeah.
there's no substance to it, right? It's just kind of either just the 5-star review, or very, very basic in terms of what the
Mhm.
feedback is or the comments are on it. And I just I couldn't agree more. I think that side is so important. And again, going back to the fact that I think there are still a lot that don't take it overly serious, and you're like,
Mhm.
this is the way of the world. That, like, it's not going away. It's going to continue to build on itself. And
Mhm.
something like your Google profile, business profile, you got to take it seriously. Like,
Yeah.
there, it's hard to at times justify the time it takes to maintain it, but
Yeah.
if you can't find somebody that can for you, because it is vital to your
Mhm.
business in how you're moving forward
Yeah.
in the coming years.
Yeah, and let me take a moment to talk about that too, the value of it too, because like, yeah, people do leave it astray. People, lose their Google Business Profile, don't keep it up. You could argue that your Google Business Profile is as or more valuable than your website.
Mhm.
Why is that? Because it's built by Google, right? If you want to be listed in Google, how much easier is it for them than to get the data directly from you rather than having to crawl your website, right? Your business in automotive is service, and you sell parts and labor, okay? Google's business is information. It is literally, it was created to organize the world's information. That's what we were taught, right? That's what Sergey Brin, that's Larry Page, that's what they said. organize the world's information. So that's why they built all these crawlers, right? They have to go find websites, but that's not free to them. That's not free. And if your website's not optimized, that's why you rank lower, because it costs them more. And so they're trying to give you an incentive to, build it so it's easier for them to crawl, right? But Google business profiles, they don't have to crawl it. You already just give it to their database. So they really reward the upkeep of Google business profile, and they will continue. It's not going away. They recently just made integrations for your Instagram, Facebook, your socials too. So now, and Meta made those indexable, just so everyone knows, last summer. So now they're going to be pulling that stuff in. Now your social media is actually going to matter too. Like, they're looking for activity. They're looking for non-templated activity. They're looking for the framework is called EAT, right? It's expertise, it's authority, it's trustworthiness, right? It's all those kind of things that come through. And if you can make media that is that, and not spammy at scale, but quality media that is that, then you're going to rank higher over time. Don't think of it as a tomorrow solution. You got to do it now to get the jobs in 2 and 3 and 6 months, and you got to keep it alive to keep it warm. But that's exactly why I built service stories. I was so sore about it. I just like, it was so much of my time, and I thought I should be running this business, not running a content engine. And
Yeah.
and I think everybody should operate that way. Get a tool now. AI can help you with it.
Well, and I think as we're talking, I could see that business leader, that shop leader that's out there listening to this almost instantaneously getting overwhelmed, right? Because,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, I've got all these fires to put out every day. And now Joe and Jay are telling me that I need to do all this other stuff. And you're like, no, but the point of service stories to begin with is to cut out a lot of that work, knowing that it is very,
Yeah.
very important. And really, a lot of our conversation up until this point has been talking through the why.
Mhm.
And it is like it is hard, and we know it's important, and we know we need to give it attention. But to your point, there are tools out there to help now, and things that
Mhm.
can really put you in a better position.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, whether it's service stories or it's something you made in house, whatever, just get something put together, get a plan, because it's going to be more important than ever before, and it's not stopping. Like the train, the search tactics, the way that it works, it's not slowing down. If anything, it's picking up in evolution. I do think if there's one stronghold that's going to be steady, it's that we will continue to talk to our computers and our phones. That's one thing that, if I could come in as an internet historian for a second here, okay, we're going to think about the evolutions of how we work with computers. Okay, very long ago, before we really had mainframes, computers were people. It was often women in a back room, computing things. Computers was the job role. Then we made binary machines that would accept punch cards. Okay, you had these cards that had holes in them, and the machine would read through the holes and understand the binary of it. Okay, there's a reason we didn't adopt computers far and wide, because that was a pain in the ass. Okay, and the next layer, like 1960s, 70s, you saw like command line predominantly pick up. So at this point now, we can type in a machine. We don't have to do the punch cards, but you still got to speak the computer's language, right? You got to be able to know the code that it speaks in order to control it. And again, we didn't see mass consumer adoption. It wasn't until the 80s and especially the early 90s when we started to see mass consumer adoption of computers, because we had now Apple came out with a graphical computer and a mouse. Okay, you could point and click and choose things. Even a child can be standing on the kitchen floor and point and scream at the cookie jar, and you know what they want. So it was so easy to work with a computer with point and click that everybody could start to do it. And then it got into our phones, and we had an era there in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, where it was like, now you're going to swipe on this stuff, you're going to shake your phone, you're going to do, and everyone, I don't think people really loved it, but like, they tried to get what was called in the Valley, we called it an intuitive interface. It just wasn't quite as intuitive as they wanted. But where we are today and where we're going to head into is this conversational, more of like an ambient, computers that just kind of happen and work around us. And we're in the early stages of it. We are already starting to talk to machines, but think of this and walk away with this, okay? This is the first era of computing where we don't have to learn the computer's language. The computer's learning our language.
Mm.
That's why it's going to stick around. The market will be bigger than ever before. The older people who don't know how to type or don't understand how to use a interface, they don't have to worry about it. They just talk to the thing. Same with kids, right? I'm sure y'all got kids at home. They're clicking around on things. Probably they can click around on things faster than you can. And you don't even know how they pick that up because you don't even know how to do it. Well, imagine when they can just talk to the machine. Okay. Like it's going to open up. It's not going away. Maybe some people choose not to do it, but it's not going away. And the way people search is going to change forever because of that.
I'm curious to maybe have more of a future facing conversation too, to get your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on where you see some of, obviously you hear a lot about autonomous vehicles, but
Yeah.
you're hearing more and more with like humanoid robots and
Sure.
kind of the evolution of a lot of actual physical things being
Yeah.
done. And I know Elon has made some pretty
Elon.
wild predictions about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious of your thoughts of kind of just in general where maybe Elon's off base, or where
Sure.
he, when you look at this, I think it's scary at some level, because you do
Mm-hmm.
think about where AI is going and the power that it now has
Mm-hmm.
of, jobs for the future. I was looking at
Sure.
the America's Talent Strategy report and reading through that, and you can tell the government's kind of freaking out about it a little bit, and like
Yeah.
where this leads. But
Oh yeah.
just curious, I know this is a really kind of vague way of putting it, but
Yeah.
what do you see with the future of a lot of this stuff?
Sure. Yeah. And also just to kind of plant a note here too for everyone, like where I'm coming from on this. I wrote a book called Automating Humanity 10 years ago, which is pretty much about this. And that was what led to me being featured in The Social Dilemma. And like I've been asked this kind of question for a long time, everything from podcasts to national news broadcasts. And like so I think about this all the time. I love talking about stuff. And Elon says what Elon says. Some of it's real today, some of it's real in 50 years. And the challenge is to figure out like, yeah, how do we know? Right? What is real? Well, let's talk about humanoid robots. You said that there. It's gonna happen, right? It's like horses back in the day. Everybody that loved horses like did not want the car, right? Or had a business around horses, stables, whatever, did not want the cars to come in. At least in the United States, it was a matter of economics, really, and efficiency, because that's what we are in the core of our nation, no matter what anybody wants to sentimentally feel about it. So it's coming. Elon's put a number on those robots. Something I think it was like $25 trillion market. And so how do you get there? That's insane, right? $25 trillion. Okay, that claim is effectively him saying we're going to get rid of a bunch of human labor. He's saying here's how much the human labor market is worth. If I can capture half of it, it's worth this much. That's a bold claim. And the reality is part of it may come true. I don't know that it all will. I don't know on what timeline, but it's very likely that we will see humanoid robots. We not we will. We are already, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time that they become cheaper, better, all those things. That being said, all the guys in our shops, they are mechanics, right? And yes, they're working on cars today, but you might be working on robots in the future. Okay, that's why Tesla's building humanoid robots. It's not that strange to go from a car to a machine that can move, right? It's all about mobility and mechanics. That's what we fix. Okay. Now the other flip side of that is back when cars were taken over, people were also scared of job loss and destruction of local economies and things. And arguably we wouldn't, I mean, not arguably, fact, we would not have mechanics today if there were no cars,
Right.
right? So jobs will be created out of this. We've already seen AI slop. That's a real thing. I don't think they're coming to take all the jobs, um, if not for a very long time. I don't think the intelligence is what everybody's claiming. I think the more dangerous part of it is that we believe the claims and then we allow it to lead us, even though it's not that smart. I really, though, I
Yeah.
think that is the more dangerous side of this is that we buy into the marketing and we allow some like halfway intelligent magic screen tell us what's right and what's wrong. Okay. So everybody keep that in mind. But yeah, I do think that that's where it's headed. I also think like in regards to repair and booking appointments and things like that, I definitely could see a world where our cars are intelligent enough to sense their problems, and you could have a system where owners just say, "Hey, when you got a problem, take care of yourself," right? Or tell me about it, and then tell me where you want to go, and I'll let you know if that's right or not, right? And so effectively at that point, when we're talking about AI search, right, and it's humans talking, at some point it will probably be also just machines talking.
Yeah.
So whether it's your website or whatever it is in the future, may not be a literal website, you need to be prepared for a world where these AI services, these bots built into the machines, are going to speak for the machines, and you'll have a negotiator on the other side, and you'll go back and forth to set an appointment. It may not be fully automated. Some people might want that, right? There probably will be shops that get run by the machines, and I don't know how much technicians will love it. So you may not get the best technicians, right? That's the other flip side of it too, right? People don't want to
Yeah.
be screwed over by AI. We're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of revolts. But there's a very real potential world where the car knows it has a problem. The owners set it on autopilot, and it books an appointment at your shop. It drives in and it drives to the lift. Your guys put it up and start working on it, right? Um,
Crazy.
that's a real potential in the future. I don't know if that's 5 years off or 20 years off, but it's a very real potential. And in between now and then, you're optimizing for AI search, and that's the beginning of it.
Yes, and even as you think through that process down the road,
Mm-hmm.
if your car is making suggestions to you on where it should go, like there's a lot to be unpacked there, right?
Yeah,
Because you're trying to establish yourself as that subject matter expert,
yep.
as the shop and that trusted source. I love the
Mm-hmm.
EAT acronym because I think that in general should be the way you operate your business, right? You
Of
want to
course,
be that
yeah.
authoritative figure that you want to be known as the best, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you're transparent and you have that expertise and you're showing it because you are putting content out, I think that's where when we talk about the long game, like we are very early in this in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, and in some ways it's been
Yeah,
around for a long time. But like,
for sure.
I think the more you can kind of get comfortable with that things are going to change and things will be different. I think it's not bad.
If you're an automotive, diesel, or collision instructor, or an educator helping students explore these careers, this is for you. Building relationships with local shops takes time, and knowing who's willing to help isn't always clear. ASE Connects brings schools and industry together on one easy online platform, completely free for schools. Instructors post exactly what they need, like guest speakers, shop tours, tools, advisory committee members, career fair participants, and student job opportunities. Local shops see these requests and respond directly to you, so you're not stuck guessing who to reach out to. You'll also get access to exclusive resources and offers from trusted industry partners, plus instructor-focused webinars, best practice guides, and templates designed to save you time and strengthen your industry partnerships. And even if your school doesn't have a formal auto or diesel program, you can still join to help connect interested students with real-world opportunities. ASE Connects is free for schools. Get started at aseconnects.com or use the link in the show notes.
Now I do, going back to Elon for a second,
Mm-hmm.
not to make it an Elon podcast, but the claim that he had made at one point where he was talking about his thought was that work would be optional at some point, right? Like
Yeah,
almost like a hobby
sure.
rather than because everything driven by robots or um, by AI as a whole, your life can become significantly easier because
Mm-hmm.
it's not as financially straining or basically any service could be done by one of these things. And so
Sure.
I just look at it, and he's a pie in the sky type of guy, but if you
Yeah.
look at his track record, he's delivered on a lot of it, right?
Yep.
Some of the stuff that seemed really crazy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
even as you look at his transition from shifting some of his factories away from Tesla to more of not Tesla, from the cars
Yeah.
to some of the robots, you're like, yeah, he's serious about it. Like there's some stuff
For sure.
coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, it's not coming. It's here.
It's here.
And
Yes.
he's
Better way to
been
put it.
manifesting it. And there's plenty of opportunity to try to break down, his Ponzi scheme of businesses and funding. He's got to make it happen, but it's happening regardless. There are real factories doing this. There are real rocket ships going into space. He's built real infrastructure in space for satellites, all this stuff. And another side of it that's not just Elon, to bring it up here for everybody who hasn't seen it. My wife's from China. She's from Beijing. And so I just recently went to China for the first time about 6 months ago. And I would argue that they are farther ahead on AI than we are, like
I agree.
like significantly. Um, I actually think that the reason we consider their cars to be a national security threat is not necessarily surveillance, although it's part of it, but actually that they are so capable and affordable that it would gut our market. Like I
Yeah.
sat in a car, an SUV, a brand new SUV that I could get in the back seat. It had a massage chair. It had a 16-inch screen. It had self-driving. It had all the things, like crazy, brand new SUV, midsize. How much would you pay in the United States for a leather layback massage chair with TV and everything in SUV? You just give me a number. You know the industry.
100 grand.
100 grand? Yeah.
Yeah.
$32,000. That would gut our market, right?
Yeah,
So,
it would.
beyond that, they have robots that are doing road work. I've said for years, we already have all the sensors in cars. Why don't we have sensors on the shocks in the car, so every time that we hit things in the road, we could sense how big that pothole might be and then have it sent to a database that tracks the GPS location of that pothole. The city would then know where all the potholes are based on the impact, the difference in the spring tension. We could know about how big it is, all those kind of things, and prioritize them. You could send a robot out to fill it overnight and it wouldn't distract anything. Well, they're
Crazy.
pretty close to that in China, and their life is better because of it. But yeah, they've also made laws to protect people in it, right? That's something we are not doing in the United States, which does concern me. I do think we have a current environment, and I'm not talking politics at all. I'm talking just
Right.
like business in general that is relatively not contained. It's just they're doing everything for the corporate bottom line, and I think that's why we're seeing so much stress here. Is there's no plans for the people. We don't have a transition plan, whether that's something that someone wants to say, oh well, our politicians this and that. It's not. I've been in this world for 10 years now, trying to be an advocate, trying to make the internet safer and put ethics behind tech. It was there in the first Trump administration. It was there in the Biden administration. It's there again now, right now in the Trump administration. It's not a partisan issue. It's a corporate thing, and
Yeah.
but it's a bipartisan issue that we protect our communities from losing jobs and losing healthcare and sustaining. And I think that's the biggest thing that concerns me, and I hope we figure out as a community is how do we bridge this gap? Because the way we make a plan is the difference between, is this a few years, like maybe 5 or 10 years worth of a painful transition, or is this like 50 years, of like, we're just letting people figure it out. There's no social support net, there's no like, go ahead, you got to go back to college. You're 45 years old. Like people will riot. And that's my bigger concern.
Yeah.
I really believe AI is good when used as a utility. I believe in data use as a good economic asset. I think we need to figure out how to get people paid for the data they create. Okay, that's a whole other
It's good. That's
a
yeah.
whole
I
other
hadn't
thing.
thought about that. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely
I
right.
helped draft the first data taxation system in U.S. history about 5-6 years ago,
That's crazy.
and the thesis was this: if you have these robots to go do this, right, and these workers are no longer there, where's our tax revenue come from? You don't have income tax. You've laid off people. They're doing the work. You then don't have sales tax because those people can't buy things. That is the large majority of our tax revenue in this country, right? Where does it come from? Well, now the corporations are hoarding value because they've had cameras watching us at work all the time, looking at how we move, and then using that data to train the robots who take our jobs. Why am I not getting paid for a cut of that? Or like, I actually had a TED talk I don't know, was it 2018, 2019? Um, and the title was, "You want to work for Google? You already do." And it was all about how we built Google, Google Maps, for example, all the photos, all the reviews, all the content. That's what makes Google Maps valuable. We didn't get paid a dime for that, but they make billions of dollars off of it and targeting us and using our data. What if you got a small slice of it? This was part of the data taxation systems. Like, how do we extract some of that value at a state or a federal level and put it back into our communities? Because actually getting down to the individual level of data rights is very hard, right?
Yeah.
Your individual value of data is not so much as it is in an aggregate, right? Like Oprah Winfrey's address is probably worth a lot, but yours
Not
probably
as
not,
much.
right? But
Right.
imagine this. Imagine a scenario. So Facebook says the average user is worth about $200 a year to them, give or take. That number changes annually, but let's say your data touches 10,000 companies a year or 50,000 companies a year. It's very realistic that it does, just FYI. The way that it moves through and gets sold to people and all this shit that happens. It's very likely that your data has been touched by upwards of, 50 or 100,000 different companies every year, whether they know it or not. What if you got paid 25 cents for every company that touched it? Not $200 a year like Facebook, 25 cents for 50,000 companies a year. That's $12,500 in your back pocket because you created data, which was an asset for them. That's the truth.
Seems fair. Yeah.
So we'll have to
That's it.
figure that out at some point. I think that's kind of their fear too, though, is like if they were forced to pay us for the data, they'd go bankrupt, and the billionaires don't like that. So I think we need it. I think we need to get paid, though. I could be a billionaire, or I could be a trillionaire also if billions of people were working for me for free.
Yeah, my goodness. Again, going back to why I love your insight and input on everything. You are an expert at this stuff. On top of sharing what you're doing with service stories, just awesome. Uh, thinking that AI conversation, I think I'm like a lot of people where there's a part of me that really embraces it, and I
Mhm.
think it already has made my life easier in a lot of ways, but it's also scary, right? And there are
Yeah.
times where you're like, maybe I should just live off the grid. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's just like all of these thoughts
Yeah.
that go through, but I think a lot of it is because of the uncertainty of where it's going to lead, and I think we're
Yeah.
all naturally conditioned to want to know what the end result is ahead of
Yeah.
time, right? And so
Yep.
I do think that's part of the scary piece of
Sure.
just I'm certainly not an expert like you are.
Yeah.
We do have people on our team that have dove headfirst into a lot of this. We've
Yeah.
really, even with our developers, put them on just working on that, right? And trying
Mhm.
to develop tools and trying to really understand it
Yeah.
at a different level. Because as we talked about throughout this podcast, it's
Yeah.
not going away. You may as well embrace it because
Yeah.
it is going to change some things.
Yep.
If it gets to the point where it folds my laundry, I'm going to be really pumped.
For sure. For sure. That's $1 billion company. I pay for that shit. You
Same,
know?
same. Yeah. And you're probably not stealing too many people's jobs there.
Yeah.
No, it's something that we'll have to keep our finger on the pulse of. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you back on
Yeah.
to kind of keep our eye on this stuff, and you can help us educate the audience on where we're heading with things. So I look forward to that. I do have to end with three fun questions. This has changed since the last time you were
Yeah.
on. And so three kind of get to know you questions.
Okay.
First one is, what was your first car?
Oh, my first car was a 90 Ford Honda Prelude SRV, which
Nice. All right.
was at the time, at least what I was told by my dad. I was not the historian, but he was like, "Yeah, actually, just keep it off. Like this is not legal in the U.S. the way they built these engines. It was from Canada, kind of thing." And I was like, "Okay, cool," but it was a little hot rod. It's fun, stick shift, and it moved. So I had a lot of fun with that
Fun
car.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Second question is, are you an early morning person or a late night person?
That's changed over the course of my life.
Yeah,
I
me too.
used to be like military early and loved it. And now I mean, this is still early to a lot of people, but now I'm like, I'm happy to get up at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
I can't physically really sleep until 10 a.m. or something, but sometimes lately I've been up till like 2 a.m. just because I'm loving what I'm doing, and I'm just in the
Yeah.
zone and there's all these lights from the screen I don't see it, and then I go to bed at 2 or 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I woke up at 10. That makes sense. But yeah, generally I'm a morning person. I'm trying to find a balance because I don't want to be the person who wakes up at noon. That's not on my roadmap.
Last question. Favorite type of food?
Favorite type of food? Oh my God. That's terrible.
We're here to ask the hard-hitting questions.
That is the hardest of hard. You know what? If I could put a broad on it, I'm going to say Chinese food. And I say that because, I think we're all used to like Mongolian beef, right? Or like orange chicken or something. That's American Chinese. And if y'all are ever in Omaha, let me know. My wife and I will take you out to some authentic Chinese, and it'll change your world. I mean, the way that they cook, I mean, man, also talk about efficiency. Whether I'm in New York or I'm here in Omaha at a real authentic Chinese restaurant, you order, it's out on your table in 5 minutes. When I was in China, we ordered, oh my God. It was not all the restaurants, but like a good amount of them. You sit at the table, there's a QR code. You put your order in, they know what table you're at, right? Then it comes out within 5 minutes. We had some of them, they come and put, the sand dial, you flip it at times. They come put that shit on the table and say, if we don't come out before this is done, it's free. It's like, what? This is little, whoop, done. There. And they come out and they do it one dish at a time. So they slap the receipt on your table, and every dish they pull out, they strike it off. And then they're like, oh, timer's not done. Yep, you pay us. And I was like, yeah, cool. Okay.
Happy to. Yeah. It's funny. I think you're the first person that we've asked this question. Now, our marketing team had asked that I start including that as like the fun kind of ending to this now. Yeah. And I think you're the first Chinese food response to this. We've had a lot of Mexican food, which I'm a huge Mexican food fan.
Yeah.
And you'll have like a distant second of like Italian. And then you are, I want to say, the first one to say Chinese food. So that, and authentic, good Chinese food.
Yeah. No, I couldn't live without it at this point. It's changed my life.
Well, I want to say thank you for everything you do to help educate me on kind of the future of the world, specifically our world. But you spoke at Tectonic this past year, and you have so much going on with service stories. For those of the folks that want to keep up with you, how do they follow along?
Yeah, servicestories.com is the website. We have a LinkedIn and a Facebook page, although we're not as active as we hope to be in the coming months, and a YouTube, I guess. But a couple big updates too. I mean, we just signed integration partnership with TechMetric, and maybe by the time this gets out, it's already live. So, look on your integrations page. We'll be there. It'll be one click button to get connected. We're moving fast. We're having a lot of fun, and I'm loving it. We provide human American-based customer service to me and someone who speaks English first language. Like, yeah, hell
big
yeah.
One.
It is a big one. All these AI support and stuff. It's like, get me the people. So yeah, come hang out. Come meet us. We'll be doing webinars and teaching people too, because I want to put this information out there. I think everybody needs to know how to do it, whether you use us or not. Come learn and ask me questions. I'm excited to talk to you.
All right. I'm going to take you up on that. And someday I'm going to take you up on having Chinese food with you in Omaha. That seems like a good one, but thanks again for joining us. Absolutely. Always a pleasure, and look forward to the next time.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
That wraps up another episode of Beyond the Wrench. If you liked this episode, please show your support by rating and following the podcast. You can also watch the video interviews on Wrenchway's YouTube channel. Speaking of Wrenchway, did you know Beyond the Wrench is managed and produced by the Wrenchway team? Wrenchway is an online community dedicated to promoting and improving automotive and diesel careers. We help technicians find the best shops to work at, and we also help auto, diesel, and CTE instructors get more support from local industry. You can learn more by visiting wrenchway.com.